Shalom. First and foremost, I want to begin by giving all the praises, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachaha, Kodash, and double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Shalom as well to you, sincere brothers that are scattered, and shalom to you, few sisters as well. All right, now I'm going to read this disclaimer because I got a couple of videos here that I want to play, and I gotta share this, okay? Because this is not medical information. This is strictly for educational purposes, all right? For the purpose of edification. So I'm not getting paid or anything for this, all right? So disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by a copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, all right? So I got a couple of videos here that I want to play, and this is, your current and latest news, all right, of, this, so-called doctor, all right, Fauci, Anthony Fauci, all right, who's been brought, to hearing, and a lot of questions, were brought forth, all right? And, as most of you brothers and sisters have, if you haven't tuned in, all right, he's not answering any of them, okay? Though he's been pardoned, okay, which ultimately means that, you are forced to answer these questions, he's not doing it, okay? Because ultimately there's a, these people have committed a huge crime, okay? And they're being, brought, their wickedness is being brought to light. But nevertheless, we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. Okay, whatever Satan, all right, whatever Esau Edom is allowing out there, trust me, he has a backup plan, okay? And ultimately, with these people, whenever one gets caught, all right, or another, okay, they just put it all on one person. And now, you think, this individual, Dr. Fauci, is, responsible for all of that, when really there's a whole group of elites behind it, man. He's just a face, all right? So the people to truly blame, all right, are the top elites, okay? Those that truly run this world. The famous precept that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So what will the wicked do? The wicked is going to do wicked shit, man. Okay, and that's exactly what you saw during C-19. Okay, all those people that were, had health issues, immunocompromised, all right, that took, that jump shot. A lot of them, they were unalived, man. They dropped dead, okay? Because ultimately you're playing with Satan, man, and you can't trust this devil. The scripture says, okay, not to make any covenant, okay, with these people, man. Okay, you trust in oppression, you trust in these people, okay, and they have done nothing but bring forth death, man, and they're doing it, their modern way, okay, of still bringing forth, destruction is via, okay, the vaccines, via the food in which, the people are being fed, okay, the air quality is horrible, okay, families are all, divided, and still divided. Okay, especially during C-19. Okay, you see, relationships, basically have, gone to shit. Gender wars. Okay, so much happening, man. And this is all under who? Under this man Esau Edom. Okay, and so let's bring out this, video. Lord willing, this be edifying. Okay. You were going to have schools, universities, and colleges are going to say, you want to come to this college, buddy? You're going to get vaccinated. Lady, you're going to get vaccinated. Yeah. Big corporations like Amazon and Facebook and all of those others are going to say, you want to work for us, you get vaccinated. And it's been proven that when you make it difficult for people in their lives, they lose their ideological bullshit and they get vaccinated. Thank you. Are all objections to COVID vaccinations ideological bullshit, Dr. Fauci?
No, they're not, and that's not what I was referring to.
Well,
That's exactly what you meant when you said making it hard for people to live without getting a vaccination. You affected people's ability to work, travel, be educated, to actually flourish in American society, to self-determine, as we're all given God-given rights. Shame on you. You were gonna ask.
You see that? And that's what exactly happened, man. They forced the people into taking it. They just, gave you a bit of pressure. You got bills to pay, you got, all of these different, responsibilities. And that's what it all came down to for most people. They said, yo, I got to pay this, I got to do that. Okay. Just with a little bit of a squeeze or pressure from, the higher ups. And immediately people caved. And that's exactly what they wanted. Okay. And they knew exactly that people would cave, man, with a bit of pressure. Okay. And that pressure is going to eventually intensify, leading to the MOTB. Okay. But these people have done their study. They know exactly how to be able to get you to, bow down to them, man. Okay. They know it. All right. But again, as I mentioned, they got this guy right here as the face. Okay. To blame, which, hey, man, he should be blamed, but ultimately he's not the only one. Okay. And so they force a lot of these, children, all right, and so on and so forth, the elderly, the young, you got, athletes, in peak shape, okay, in their early mid 20s, early 30s, you know, dropping, because of a heart attack, man, cardiac arrest, you name it. How are these things possible? Okay. You get a cold, for example, right now. That shit don't go away after 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You see? So these people are what? They're, slowly destroying the people, man. They have an agenda. Remember, Georgia, my Guidestones, man, is what maintain humanity under 500 million. So they're not just gonna, you know, do something, significantly, that will cause many people to drop dead all at once. Okay. And, people will know what the reason is. Okay. They're going to do it through, these means, man, as you see here. Okay. 20, 5, 10, 15 years, go down the line. Okay. And now you're experiencing all of these different, health challenges, man, not knowing that it was because of, one of these, things in which you took, man. And that's what people don't understand is that, this man, okay, he's Satan. Okay, the scriptures say that he's going to come after the working of Satan. Let's get that precept. The book of 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. Okay, so these people are being revealed in this time. All right, that these are the Edomites. Okay, go look up who the Edomites are. All right. It says, for the mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Who is that wicked? The so-called white man. Okay, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, man. Everything that they do is exactly what Satan would do, man. Okay, because these are the children of Satan. Okay, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Okay, that was the biggest lie. Okay, one of the biggest lie, told in history. Okay, is, take that MOTB or, take that jump shot, man. Okay, and you think he's going to stop lying from there on? He's been lying. All he's done is lie, man. The scriptures say that that his words were smoother than butter, so he tells you what you want to hear, but that's a lie. Okay? You see? Now, what do you think is going to happen with all this information coming up, man? There's going to be a lot of resistance to the MOTB. So what is he going to do? He's going to, ultimately tap into his, to his ultimate blessing, which is a sword. Okay? You see, with all this information coming and people now realizing, the truth about what the hell happened there with C19, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to resist what's getting ready to come. Okay? So that's going to force him to move like a madman, sparing none. Okay? You see? And he's going to really use, again, his blessing, which is the blessing of the sword. He's not going to go down, just, he's not going to accept it. All right? And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause the Lord Yahweh Shemash has sent them strong delusion that they should believe a lie. You see? That they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but hath pleasure in unrighteousness, man. You see that? And that's what these people exactly, that's what happened to them, man. They had, they didn't believe the truth. Okay? They had pleasure in unrighteousness, man. Okay? Those that took that jump shot, they were able to go to the, parks, etc. You had to show proof and so on and so forth, man. That was just only temporary, man. Okay? You see, what matters most behind it is, what the hell did they put in you? You see? Psalms chapter 64, verse 8 to 10, it says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. Okay? So the truth is coming out, and you have a lot of insiders. Edomites, that is, too, as well. Okay? Who's bringing forth the truth about what the heck is happening behind closed doors, man. Okay? And all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Lord, for they shall wisely consider his doing. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord Yahweh Shemash, and shall trust in him, and all the upright in the heart, and heart shall glory. Okay? You see? Now, this man goes by the name of Dr. Fauci. Okay? Which when you look up the etymology and the root, meaning of that word doctor, it says 1590s, okay, to confer the degree of doctor on, from doctor meaning to treat as a doctor, which this guy, he just popped out of nowhere, gave himself the title of a doctor, which, you have to go through certain, certain, like different, qualifications to be able to receive that title. But what did he go through in order to receive that, man? You see, these people are all politicians. They're set up, and they're not obligated to tell you any, of the truth, man. They tell you what you want to hear for the meantime, but, quickly, they switch. Okay? So again, it says meaning to treat as a doctor, administer medical treatment is from 1712, sense of alter. This is the point right here. Sense of alter, disguise for the purpose of deception, falsify, man. Is from 1774, related, doctoring, man. And that's exactly what you're seeing, man. These people are falsifying, bringing forth false information to deceive you, hence deception for the purpose of deception. Okay? These are witches and warlocks. The scripture says that now without enchantments. Okay? These people are witches and warlocks, man. They're, pushing out heavy spells upon the people. They're, communicating with the spiritual demon Satan, telling them, what to do and so on and so forth, man. Okay? You see? So a lot of these people don't know what the hell is really happening, man. All right, the book of Job chapter 12, or chapter 13, verse 4, it says, but ye are forgers of lies. Ye are all physicians of no value, man. Okay? That's what these people are. Okay? These people are, they believe in theirs, in their pseudoscience. Okay? Which, the word science means, knowledge. Okay? But the knowledge of this world is not knowledge, as the scriptures say, man. Okay? It's not knowledge. It's pseudoscience, which, the word pseudo means false. Okay? You see, and when you look up even, the symbol, of, Now, when you look up the symbol or, the medical symbol, okay, look at this, man. As you see here on your screen, it shows you, it says the true medical symbol with one snake is called the rod of Asclepius. I think that's how you say it. The second symbol with two snakes and wings, often mistaken for it, is called the Caduceus. You see that? You're dealing with you're dealing with the serpent here, man. Okay, this is not by coincidence. This right here, this is not by coincidence, man. Okay, going all the way back to Egypt. You see, Pharaoh, had his, astrologers, etc., man. Right? These are a bunch of witches and warlocks, man. This is why, the scriptures say that we are not, fighting, this is a spiritual war against, rulers, those people that deal with high demons, man. Okay, this is why you need the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai at all times. You got to put up prayers to the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai to protect you and your children and your wives. Okay, and that Lord willing, we make it out of here, man. Because without the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai, okay, yeah, man, everybody's gonna die. All right.
You did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally. Cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under...
Yeah, so there you go, man. He's not answering no questions. These are the people that majority of our people wholeheartedly believed in. Okay, saying, yo, take it. You must take it. How are you going to eat, brother? How are you going to get money, sister? You see, you better take that thing. Especially coming from this individual right here on your right. So, hey, man, it is what it is. May the Lord Yahweh Shemashah Barakatah Shalom.